Well, ladies and gents, good morning. Good morning. It does give me some joy when I plan an interactive discussion that you talk back at me, so I'm grateful for that. And thinking about our time together today and thinking about this point in the program, have you learned stuff already whilst we've been here? Yes. Huge amounts of knowledge, huge amounts of wisdom, huge amounts of information shared, yes? Yes. Made me think about that old saying that knowledge is power. You've heard that before? Yeah. True, yes or no? See, in my experience, it is complete and utter nonsense. Dribble. I'll explain for why. Show of hands in this room, who knows of something they should be doing or could be doing that would help them grow their speaking business and is still not doing it? See, it cannot be the knowledge that leads to the power, right? It can only be the stuff you choose to do. It's the things that you choose to implement to be able to take action on. During our time together, I'm going to be sharing information with you that is like drinking water from a fire hose. I have prepared a presentation. You're looking at it. That is it. The slide is highly unlikely to change for the next 30 minutes. Because what I'm putting together today is just for you. This is about how I can take from my experience in professional speaking and see if I can decipher what I've learned in 3,500 gigs and around $15 million worth of revenue, put it into 30 minutes and give it back to you in a potent pill that you can use. I say it's going to be like water from a fire hose, though, because I expect you to spill somewhere like most of it. What I'd love you to do is to catch the drops, catch the things that you can use, catch the parts you can put into practice. I see many of you there poised, ready to take notes. I'd much rather you took notice. In fact, I'd go as far as saying, please, please, pretty please, do not write a single thing down in our time together, nothing. Not unless you're going to use it, you're going to do something with it, you're going to put it into practice. Sound fair, yes or yes? So let's look at seeing what we can do to be able to get to work. My little business was a sales training business. And I started a sales training business by accident. I came out of a corporate role, wasn't sure what I wanted to do next. And because I spoke at B&I events and chambers of commerce about how people could grow businesses, people said, you should do more with this. And I said, okay. So I decided to run my first sales training workshop. It was 2009, 12 people in the room, £85 a ticket. And what happened is I would go to networking events. People would like, I'd love to learn more about what you do. I'd say, what are you doing on the 12th of October? And they'd say, why? What have you got in mind? I'd say, are you free or not? They said, yeah, I can be. I said, well, I'm running a one-day workshop. They said, will it cover blank? I said, yeah. And then I wrote that down. And I ran a one-day sales training workshop in 2009, 12 people in the room. The objective was always to then get from there to have some of those people become coaching clients. I ran that one-day workshop 3 times a month for 3 years consecutively. But then I learned I needed to speak to sell those workshops. So I'd speak at events for free. In fact, I'd speak anywhere with an audience for free to talk to them about my workshop, to get people to come to my workshop to build my coaching business. Then one day I was speaking in order to get some people to come to my workshop. And at the end of it, guy says, loved your speech. Will you come speak to my team, my company, my people? I said, sure. He said, how much do you charge? I thought, people pay for that? See, from that point onwards, those little humble beginnings, my speaking businesses rose to the fact that now I have delivered over 3,500 presentations. I have spoken in 59 different countries, 5 different continents. One of the youngest inductees to the National Speakers Association Hall of Fame. Was asked by Audible to do a one-man show off-Broadway where I got to perform, that's right, as a speaker off-Broadway with a one-man show to deliver some thoughts and ideas. And do you know what the content of that one-man show was? The same content I delivered for my one-day workshop all those many moons ago. Many people don't know that secret. The £85 workshop was a $250,000 agreement with Audible. Kind of cool, right? Same content can travel some distance. So I share that with you today just as the background on me. That's 5 minutes of my story in terms of where I've got to. But what I really want to do is to share 4 things that I think every speaking business should focus on at all times. 3 areas that believe that if you give these detailed attention, your business will change. 2 principles that will change your life. And then my just one more thing, right? That's it. That's what I've got to share. So I've done the 5 minutes. What are the 4 things? There are only 4 things that you need to elevate your speaking business. That's it. Only 4 things. Would you like to know the 4 things? Yes. Okay. Thing number 1 is visibility. Thing number 2 is credibility. Thing number 3 is authenticity. And then thing number 4 is availability. That's not that helpful to you, is it? So what do I mean by visibility? What do speakers do? There you go, they speak. Speakers speak. Who was in Speaker Factory yesterday? How many of you took a photograph of it? Still haven't shared it. Please do not be an undercover speaker. Many of you are looking to be discovered. Doesn't work that way. You don't get discovered until you uncover yourself. Many of you are looking to get booked, but your visibility means that you need to get people see you doing what you're doing. Do you know what every booker in the speaking world is thinking? Have you done this before? Have you done it for someone like me? And have you done it recently? If you haven't got visibility around the fact that you do what you do, you have to build it. So many speakers are looking to be booked. Do you know the first person that needs to book you? Yourself. I say it's nostalgic being here in the Midlands. You know my first official speaking gig was here in the Midlands, Ramada Hotel. 68 people in the audience. I know there were 68 people in the audience because they paid £47 to me to be there. Hosted own events, put own people in the room, create own opportunities from there. What do you collect from that? Photo assets, evidence, proof that you've done this stuff before. Which is what I mean by this credibility piece. I want you to imagine that you've got like a pegboard, right? Where it's got 100 little holes in it. You know, you've got 10 pegs this way, 10 pegs this way. What all of us should be working on right now is what are the next 100 pegs in our board we're looking to build in terms of credibility. What do I mean by pegs in the board? Very physical pieces of evidence to prove that you're the right person for the job. If you were looking to get a job in the corporate world, you'd want your resume, your CV to look the part. We say to our kids, you should do that thing because it'll be good for your CV. There are things you should be doing today that are good for your CV as a speaker. This is going to sound brutal, but if you cannot rewrite your speaker bio every 6 to 12 months, you're not moving fast enough. If you cannot rewrite your speaker bio every 6 to 12 months, you are not moving fast enough. There are things you'd like people to say about you in your bio, in your introduction, in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years' time. If you want them to be true, you have to make them true today. 100 pegs on the board at all time that you should be looking to get your next 100. What might they look like? They might be logos. They might be companies that you've worked with. They might be photo images. See, if I'm Richard McCann and I've got a photograph of me in front of a 3,000 person audience where they're all smiling and they all stood up at the end, are people worried about this dude being engaging? Is he saying, I've done this before, I've done it recently, I've done it for people like you? Are people concerned that Richard McCann can deliver when he says, I've delivered this speech more than 3,000 times? Not worried. But still, if I'm Richard McCann, I'm saying, what are my next 100 pegs in the board that I need to get? What are the next things that I'm looking to be able to achieve? What piece of evidence is missing? You know when you can stop working on your bio, the evidence in your credibility? When you have a one-word bio. Introducing Beyonce. Elton. Oprah. If you've got a one-word bio, you've done it. But until you've got a one-word bio, what are you working on next to build your credibility? Because guess what? The relevance you have that gives you credibility today is becoming less relevant unless you're building it. You're either becoming more relevant or less relevant in your topic. Get it? More relevant or less relevant. I meet so many people that were highly credible as professionals transferring from corporate into their speaking business, and they're living on 30-year-old credibility wondering why they can't get booked. Because their story is still anchored back to something they did 3 decades ago. Keep working your credibility at all times. Then we got this authenticity piece. What do I mean by authenticity? If you care about the privilege of being up here, and you care about the privilege of being up here for all the reasons that you care about it, you have to care about it down there too, and out there, and everywhere else. The best example of the product and what you speak upon should be here, should be you. Find it fascinating. Lots of people ask me for advice in the speaking business. I was at a National Speakers Association event in the corridors. successful sales, marketing speaker grabs me and says, Phil, I'm having a tough time. I'm really struggling to be able to find leads, close clients, create new opportunities. This is interesting. He's asking for some help. I said, I think I can help. He said, how? I said, I got a book for you. I said, what is it? I said, it's yours. Just do what you're telling people to do, and chances are that you might better create some change. And through the pandemic, dozens of innovation and disruption speakers losing their shit when our industry gets disrupted and requires innovation. If you want to be in this business for a long time, you got to care about the stuff you care about up here, everywhere. Can't just be about your speech. It has to be your DNA. It has to be who you are. It has to be what you're about. That's what means that when you stand up here, it works. And then we get to this availability piece. And the availability piece is what's in the shop? What's for sale? So many of you in this room have got situations where you're relying upon your customer, your client, your prospect knowing how to do business with you. They don't. The bulk of the opportunity in this business is from people who don't know how to do business with you. If you're waiting for people to have an event to book you, you're missing 95% of the market, particularly here in the UK. I was speaking to Paul McGee about this yesterday. The people who are successful in this business in the UK are the event. They're not waiting for an event to get booked. They are the event. How easy are you to do business with? What's for sale in your shop? You've got clients that come to you with problems and puzzles right now, and you say, I can do this, and I can do that, and I can do the other. I'm not interested in what you can do. I'm interested in what you do. This means that we've got to be able to position our products and package our products and price our products in the right way. So I said there are 4 things that require focus. Every speaker, regardless of experience, should always be working on visibility, credibility, authenticity, and availability. But if we're looking at availability, what do we do from here? Well, there's only 3 things to focus on here. 1 is positioning. 2 is packaging. 3 is pricing. Positioning, packaging, and pricing. Having a good speech is one thing, but if you cannot position it, package it, or price it, you're going to go broke. Got to position it, package it, and price it. How do we position our speeches? 2 questions you need to know the answer to. The answer to these 2 questions will unlock massive potential in your speaking business. First question is, who are the people you're looking to serve? Second question is, what are the challenges you're here to help them overcome? They sound like easy to answer questions. They're not. They're really hard to answer questions. People say things like, I'm here to help leaders unlock their full potential. You're like, good for you. If you were looking to open a can of beans, what utensil would you look for? Not a Swiss Army knife. Correct? Many of us are positioning our businesses as Swiss Army knives. Nobody's looking for one. What they're looking for is, how sharp is the tip of your arrow? How relevant are you towards our problem? Many of you are good at describing your service, and people are like, I don't need that. Here's what we got to get really good at describing: our knowledge of the problems that our service solves. If you can show somebody you'll understand their problem, do you know what they'll do? They'll trust your solution. If you try to explain to somebody you got the solution, they'll work really hard to say they don't have that problem. Put your work into answering those questions, we can now position, package, and price more effectively. What do I mean by positioning? These are your titles, your topics, your descriptions. If you know the answers to who are the people you're looking to help and what are the puzzles you're trying to solve for them, then what you can do is you can write a title, a description, and some takeaways that show that you know the other person. Because there's a decision-making button that exists inside the head of every decision maker. I call it the show me that you know me button. Trigger that, you'll get booked downhill. But it's not can do, it's not will that work, it's can we make that work if that works. How many of you in this room have one signature speech? Look at the questions. Who are the people you're looking to help? And what are the challenges you're looking to help them overcome? and realize that there are 3, 4, 5, 6 different types of very specific people, correct? And those 4, 5, 6 very specific types of people also have specific lists of problems. Could you write a different title, description, and takeaway for the exact same speech for all those different audiences? Could you have 5 programs on your website that are all the same freaking program, but just show you understand how to position and package? If you cannot position and package, you're asking people to choose you. You've got to do the donkey work to say, I've chosen you, and I've made it so easy for you. Give you a good example of this is I rewrite titles and descriptions at least every year. I used to run a program called Exactly What to Say to Win More Business. Crushed 2019, 2020, till about April. So I wrote a brand new program called Influence from a Social Distance. It was the same speech. But what it did, it said, I understand the market. I understand the needs of decision makers right now. I understand what's going on. If you're not refining your positioning and packaging, you're difficult to book. If you're trying to say, hey, choose what I've already decided, and it doesn't fit, too much hard work. When it comes to booking speakers, I'm looking for reasons to not pick you, not reasons to pick you. I'm looking to dismiss, which is why you've got to make it fit. What about the pricing part of this? How the heck do we price for this business? We're all making it up, yes? There's no rule book that says, here's how you price for what it is that you do. But I do have some thoughts about pricing. First is this, is if you're not convinced, you cannot convince. If you do not believe with absolute certainty that you're worth the sum of money that you're asking for, and some, don't expect somebody else to buy it. So that means that work to always be better than your fee. Always be better than your fee. I've seen many speaking businesses destroyed by somebody taking a fee that was above their experience, a fee that was above their competence. Because guess what happens is then the feedback comes in the behind the scenes and they're like, he or she was pretty good, but for that money, I expected more. What does that do for reputation? Some of us have found ourselves at events where we're like the little guy and there's 2 more people at the event and the other 2 people got paid mega bucks and you got paid this much money and you're like, I stole the show and they got paid 3 times as much as me. It's not fair. That's freaking awesome if you want a long-term career. If you stole the show and you were the lesser priced person in the lineup, you just demonstrate excellent value. That will then repeat and repeat and repeat. You always want to be better than your fee. But to do that means we've got to be skillful at asking questions around pricing. Would you like to learn how I position obnoxious fees? Because guess what? I've been an awesome free speaker. I've been an awesome £250 speaker. I've been an awesome £500 speaker, £1,500 speaker, £2,500 speaker, $5,000 speaker. That was a fun change. $7,500, $1,500, $20,000, $25,000. I've done 32 gigs in the last 12 months at $50,000 US. How do you position fee? Well, you understand that you get paid what you're worth. In fact, you don't get paid what you're worth. You get paid about 1/10 of what you're worth, maximum. So would you like to know the questions? I get audiences ask me to speak. Here's what I say. I say, well, what is it about me and my work that makes you think I'll be a good fit for your event? They now do my job for me. I say, what is your experience of working with a paid professional speaker? They then tell me either, well, we've never worked with anybody external before, it's always been internal, or last year we booked Tony Robbins, and the year before that was Mel Robbins, and last year before that was Barack Obama. Am I worried about fee? I'm not so worried anymore. But then I say, so how many people in the audience? And they tell me. I said, how many of them are involved in, customer-facing interactions that impact profitability? They said somewhere like all of them. I said, so you got 650 people in the audience, that they all impact profitability of the organization? I said, yes. I said, just answer me this just for context. On any given week, how much is the average person in your team losing for you in inefficiency or missed opportunities? Are they losing 500 a week, 1,000 a week, 5,000 a week? You tell me. They say, yeah, I guess everybody's losing at least 1,000 a week. Oh, so 650 people losing you 1,000 a week. How long has that been going on for? Is that a new thing? No, it's been for as long as I've been here. How long have you been there? Been here 7 years. So for 7 years, you've got 650 people losing you $1,000 a week. How much longer are you going to let that go on for? They say, I guess that's why we're speaking to you, Phil. Easier to position a fee, right? If you can create a problem that's 10 times bigger or more than your fee. Slow the process down, you'll speed the outcome up. But whatever fee you want to come out of your mouth, you best be proud of it. You best be convinced that it can deliver the value, because you will not get paid more than you're worth. Twice. You might get paid it once, but if you're looking for a career, you always have to over-deliver on what you're charging. Stakes go up, you got to deliver more. Stakes go up, you've got to deliver more. If you delivered what they expected, game over. What else did I want to share? So I gave 5 minutes of backstory, 4 areas that we should be focused on at all times, 3 things that will make the difference to your pocket, and then I said I'd share 2 principles. The first of those principles, I believe, will help revolutionize your speaking business. And that is a principle that I call the understudy principle. If you're looking to grow your speaking business, you need to both have an understudy and be an understudy. What do I mean by that? There is somebody that is you 3 years from now that is getting gigs that they don't want anymore or aren't a perfect fit for them, that they need somebody to refer to. Right now, I'm very happy being a cheap Simon Sinek. It's not a bad place to be, right? That's where I'm at. I'm an understudy to those guys. You want rich, famous person that has been crushing it in the personal development space, that wants 150 or 200 grand for a speech, but you can't afford them. You want somebody kind of looks similar and a third of the price, but will still crush it. Hey! Right, happen to take that spot wherever you are. Who's you 3 to 5 years from now that you can learn from, that you can position against and be the cheap alternative to somebody else? And then also have an understudy that you can give business to, that you can nurture and mentor, that helps you be a better version of yourself. So who's ahead of you and who's behind you? Because if you don't have somebody behind you that you can give business to, you keep taking that business. And because you keep taking that business, you don't create the space to win this business. And guess what happens is when you give the business to this person here, they add your credibility, because they go out in the world and talk about who they were mentored by. And as their career grows, your career also always grows in proportion. We're nudging each other up. We're building an ecosystem. So understand the understudy principle. Have an understudy, be an understudy, and your career will grow. Second big principle is what I call the cupcake principle. If you give a kid a cupcake, what is the only part they're interested in? Frosting, icing, sprinkles, cherries, right? Anything on top of the cupcake. Never touch the base. Nothing beneath the paper, right? Just the sweet, sticky stuff on top. Every speaker's the same. They want the sweet, sticky stuff of the business. They want the keynotes and the big fees and the giant opportunities. And what they have is an unpredictable business model. This is the worst business model in the world. Could you imagine pitching this on Dragon's Den? Looking for investment. It's like a bad idea. Unpredictable cash flow, reliant upon personal appearances showing up, reliant on you being good 365 days of the year, no sick days. Terrible business model. What I'd urge you all to be able to do is to build the base of your cupcake. That looks like, take how much money it costs you to live your life in a month. You know, your mortgage, your rent, your bills, the basic cost of living, what it costs for you to be you. And then say, can I spend a third of my time in my business doing something that gives me all of that money? This could be some retained consultancy clients. It could be your job. It could be a membership group. It could be a number of different things. But if you don't have stability in the base of your cupcake and you try and live just on the sweet, sticky stuff, it'll go rotten inside. Because what you have to do is you make bad decisions. This was a mind-blowing thing for me when I could say, well, hold on, can I pay all of my bills with some business interests? I have one retained consultancy client I've had for 11 years. They pay me the same sum of money every month, covers all of my bills. How much more posture can you play with if you're not worried about making payroll? How much easier is it to say no thank you to a piece of business as a third of what you'd like to charge when you don't need the money? You want the money, but you don't need it. So it might not be sexy, but if you can operate from the cupcake principle where you say, I've got a third of my time delivering me what I need, then guess what? The frosting tastes like frosting. The sprinkles taste like sprinkles, and the cherry's got a nice bite. You savor it because it all sits on top. Whereas if it's keynote, man, it's exhausting, and there's no predictability with it. So I gave 5 minutes of story, 4 things to focus on, 3 areas to look at in order to be able to put more money in your pocket, 2 principles that I think could change the way you operate, and then what's my just one thing? Probably the most important thing that I came to share with you all today. And the most important thing. What was it again? Oh yeah, that's it. When is the worst time to think about the thing you're going to say? Right? It's in the very moment when you're saying it. How many times have you come away from an important conversation and thought, shoulda, woulda, coulda? How many times have you stepped away from an important meeting and thought, who on earth was that idiot? And the person you were speaking about was yourself? So easy to debrief a conversation and think you can change it. It's even easier to pre-brief a conversation and be ready for evolving it. Think about the critical conversations in your life, in your speaking business, that you're ready to level up. I am remarkably pedantic about word choices, so much so that I did write this little book about them. It's a book I'm kind of proud of, and proud of it for a gazillion reasons. And one big one is it is a genuine bestseller. We've now sold 2.7 million copies, translated into 29 different languages. And Heather, this book right here, it did outsell 50 Shades of Grey. And Harry Potter. Legit. For one whole day. Take my wins, you take yours, right? But it's a book full of my magic words, and I think it's useful to have language to help you influence the moments that matter when it comes to being able to sell these services. Sometimes we are the worst salespeople for ourselves in the speaking business. It's hard because we get excited and we just want the business, we want the opportunity, and we overcommit and we overpromise. Slow the process down and you speed it up. But what really is my just one more thing, it's not the words in the book. Is this little book here right now was created in 15 years of building this speaking business. It's a tiny little book you can read cover to cover in 72 minutes. I wrote it in a weekend. I wrote it in a weekend because I'd workshopped this material over 1,000 times. I wrote it in a weekend because I'd road tested it in over 800 different industries. It's really the condensed version of much of my knowledge and information around persuasion, influence. And what's happened is because I distilled this piece of work down into something so tiny, it's allowed me to then breathe new life into it and what's next. So when I think about my career trajectory from here, my only goal in life is my tombstone reads like proud father, loving husband, and creator of exactly what to say. I don't need more than that. I have a body of work that's this wide, it's the same deep, but my one thing is to have one thing. Think about Simon Sinek. What's he known for? He can't change it, right? He's got a body of work that's much broader, much deeper, much wider. If you go to a John Bon Jovi concert, what do you want to hear? Living on a prayer. It can't be like, I booked John Bon Jovi, like, I'm going to do all new material. That sucks. If you can do enough in your business to get good at something that you're famous for, that you're recognized for, go all in on it. You don't often get the gift of having one thing that you're known for. If there's one thing that you're known for, do not dilute it. Go all in, make it more potent. And exactly what to say is what I'm committed to for the next 20 years or more in my business. We now have 37 licensed partners. I've written 29 different custom editions of the book. We're now a movement, not a book or a body of work. Today, there are 13 exactly what to say events happening in North America. 3 of them are in schools, 2 of them are in hospitals. 1 of them is with a group of people looking to repair their marriages. Now, my message would have never got there if I was the messenger. But if you have a message that's potent enough that is for everybody, distill it down to a point where it's big enough that it can be famous, that it can be translated and move towards other people quickly, and then give it to other people to carry forward. We live in a world where we are so precious of our IP that we want to keep it as ours. My one idea here is get it so condensed that you can give it away so it can be everybody's, so that what they can do is add their 2 to your 2 and create 5 in moments. And if you've got people karaokeing your IP, that's a good thing. Elton John is not mad that somebody is murdering your song. So I hope in our time together today you have written at least one thing down that you can use. It's been a pleasure to serve you. I'm here for questions throughout. Come grab me on anything. I'm an open book. I really, really am. Proud to be here. Proud to be part of PSA. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of it. Look forward to seeing more of you later. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.